Okay, so I posted the other day, and people knew about. I love trying to merge, and I'm still trying to find my niche on how to do it, or how the approach and the process to do it, to actually bridge gaming with security. And this week really, really started to see a pattern in that. And then somebody asked me, well, gaming's got nothing to do with security. So I posted on Twitter, I said, well, buckle up, Buttercup, because guess what? It does.
Very much so.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
everyone here watching, buckle up. I'm about to get my nerd on. So what they put out, Ubisoft and all of them put out, is they now have two-factor authentication required, which means, for those that don't know what multi-factor is or two-factor, you have your username and your password, and now it's required that you have a 6-digit number. I believe it's 6 digits, it might be 8 with them, that gets sent to your phone, and then that lets you log in. If you are playing the free-to-play, if you've bought the full-on Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare, and are accessing Warzone that way, it's not required yet. It may go that route.
This new kind of update too, right, is primarily focused at PC players.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation, Xbox have two-factor authentication, right?
Yep. To an extent, but yeah, it's not forced. But with how when you set up your PlayStation and your Xbox, it has to be joined and everything else. It kind of goes through that process. It's a different process, but it could technically be considered.
The key word there, right, forced, and what you just said is the kind of big part of the story, right? That blends that gaming and cybersecurity.
Yep.
Because obviously in the news, Warzone is also going through, hackers, cheaters, and
its own development issues.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but almost that's becoming like typical for these types of first-person shooters, right? So this is also a way, right, they can start to combat that.
Yeah. So they're not the first people to have to deal with this problem, but what they're trying to do right now, and the reason the PC, let's just face it, everybody, the PC is the biggest target because you have the most access to the gaming files to do with what you will, as is. Where if you're on the PlayStation or the Xbox, which do have downloadable cheats, it's a little bit more difficult to exploit, or you can put hardware solutions for the cheats in between. But what they're doing here, and there's a couple things, people are like, oh, it's so annoying, I have to use a two-factor authentication. What a pain in the butt. First off, the dang game is free, y'all. So deal with it.
So, yeah, really, what are you really losing there?
And the second thing is, this is supposed to help keep you safe. So the way that works is it makes it more difficult. What makes it so any of the accounts that you have in there is you. It makes it not impossible, but it makes it more difficult to impersonate or be you. Now, it's possible you can get the code, you can get on the box, capture some tokens and everything else, move those credentials over, and then eventually gain full access. But you have to do that very, very quickly. But in this case, you have to log in with your username and password, and then the two-factor. What I think is very interesting in this one is how they could leverage this data and correlate it. Because now they're sending you a token, and they can say, well, I wasn't the one cheating. I didn't do the cheating. Well, this is your box. You logged in from this IP. You logged in with these credentials and this token, which is difficult, makes it difficult to get there. Plus, another aspect of it, you get some of the bigger companies, and they can actually see what phone number the text message authentication went to and request that geo information to correlate to the geolocation of your external IP address at home, and then say, I'm sorry, this was you. You were cheating.
So what you're saying is they're giving us enough rope to hang ourselves with.
Right. So there's two sides of this story here. They're making you safer from bad guys if you choose to download something that all of a sudden has malware in it, or from somebody that's trying to hack you if it's open IP or anything and they don't like you. They're making it more difficult for them to take over your account, which is fantastic. But at the same time, they're also able to verify, hey, dude, this is you. This is the one that did the actions. It was all here. You were cheating. You're banned. Okay.
Now, ironically enough, speaking of the security portion of this kind of goes back to what we were talking about before the stream, how they're trying to turn it into a criminal offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, which is great because there were several articles about it. And this is what really, really caught my eye. Is in another article by Digital Information World, they were quoting and they cited and we'll put articles if you guys want in the Discord to all this. They cited the UK's National Crime Agency report, and the one that really caught my eye on this was in that report. They talked about many of the users begin to engage in gaming cheat sites and ultimately progress to criminal hacking. The report provides examples of teenagers who were initially interested in developing gaming cheats, which is essentially malware to work around game systems and everything else, and progress into cybercrime. Okay. So this is starting to, at this point now, based on that and everything else that's going on in the world, the human malware incident right now just fostered that because there's so many people at home playing games now. You see this huge, crazy spike, and that gives you the data that you need for analytics to be able to say, here's my baseline. This is not the normal. Here's the vast number of cheats. Here's a spike in malware all of a sudden that we're seeing. They're using in this, is if you scroll right here, just above it, they're talking about these developers and stuff are using a site called VirusTotal, which I use all the time. And it goes out and references anywhere from 60 to 70 different antivirus protection software platforms. And if it comes back as detected by one or two of them, they go change their code until it's not detected. So it's getting past it. So you can put the cheat on the box because the cheat is ultimately malware circumventing, or like a virus circumventing the software controls by the game or by your OS to allow you to do certain things like aiming, wall hacks, interesting jumps, modify yourself to be invincible. The fact that what they're really talking about now is, one, they have to do something. Bungie's trying to do stuff now, not succeeding. Warzone's trying to put stuff in place, having a difficult time with it. Apex Legends is having similar issues with cheaters. Valorant, who's not even out of beta yet, has huge problems. They tried coming up with a solution that requires always on, even if the game isn't running on a kernel level, that it caused privacy concerns. So they had to implement code change to allow the user to turn that off. Now you're not able to play the game again until you re-enable it. And I can tell you right now, they have to find a common ground. Anyway. And then the other interesting part on all this is, how do they get or head it off at the pass, Western slang term there, to prevent the next generation of gamers from all of a sudden going and turning down that road of, I like to play a game, but I'm really bad at it, so I'm going to put some cheats in it because of this, to the cyber crime, developing their own malware. Now that also, there's also the other end of it. There's cheaters. There's these guys are. It's cheating as a service, like software as a service.
That's what I find really interesting here too, right? Like this is no longer people downloading cheats or casually
it's
doing
become monetized.
Yeah.
Right. And
you got
and there's
people buying
also
and selling and stuff. So.
Right. And I think there's a layer of cognitive dissonance that could also create for people from a vulnerability perspective, right? You perceive that you buy something and it may legitimize what you're doing in some way, but it's still a massive vulnerability that you're introducing.
Right. So, I mean, you got some competitors out there, right? They're like, I want to win at all costs. I don't care what the money is. I have to be number one. I have to be in the top. So all of a sudden, instead of paying for like a $10 hack, they're paying $100 or they're paying $500. So these bad guys.
Zoom in a little bit too on the article. I just want to make sure chat can see that too.
Is that better?
Thank you.
Imagine paying $500 for a cheat and then your account gets restricted entirely.
Right. Right. So
that's exactly how it's going to
so
happen.
But the thing is,
or the best part is you go to jail at that point.
Hold on. So here's the caveat to the more you spend on the cheat as a service,
well, I mean,
the more guaranteed it is not to be found.
Yeah.
So you're paying for two different
they're
things. I'm really interested to see how this goes because, I mean, there's other articles out there. I'm not a big Verge fan of the Verge, but the guy that wrote this article did a really good job of putting together a list of all the manufacturers and stuff that are really involved and being hit and having to focus on this. And it's not only touching upon PC, but every other platform as well. And the interesting thing for me is we've got two next-gen consoles coming out, Xbox Series X and the PS5. All new hardware, platform, underlying code, the whole 9 yards to support all that. You've had leaks on a few things suspectedly from AMD and the GPUs that are going to be used in there. Can they already start from day one having exploits ready for those platforms? So you've got games like Call of Duty, Apex Legends. I mean, right here, Apex Legends is struggling with cheaters, banning more than 350,000 hackers and cheaters last year. Okay, a year ago. And they're still having problems today. PUBG, same problems. Destiny 2, Overwatch, Blizzard's just getting ready to release some stuff to try and combat it. All these different developers trying different things and they still can't fix the problem. So if people are out there telling me that security is not part of gaming, you need to buckle up and shut up, because it is a very big part and it's going to get more and more prevalent, because as this goes on, cheating is going to get more intuitive. There are going to be more monetizations out of it. And there's big, big, big threat actor groups, which is an APT, that are involved. Like, I'm not going to say it online because I don't want to get us targeted. But there's an APT out of
Please
China
no.
that I showed some of the statistics to the guys before the podcast, and they are targeting, I mean, some of the biggest countries out there that they're targeting for their malware based on gaming cheats and hacks: United States, Brazil, Japan, Canada. I could I have a top 10 list that I shared with the guys. There's a lot more. Germany, I think, was in there. Indonesia's in there, I know. Things like that. So these companies where mobile gaming and gaming in general is just huge. But as that stuff grows, how do you combat that? So this is a whole new opening, and this the eyes on this one is I want to see how this develops, how this grows and fosters gaming cybersecurity. I mean, there's a whole lot of different aspects. Also, one that we didn't touch upon yet here is, so your dad or a mom and you've got kids and you gave them a computer. That computer, and they're playing a game, it's got in-game transactions. They've loaded cheat software. That cheat software is embedded with malware. That cheat software with the malware embedded in it looks for credentials, looks for credit card information, steals that, gains access to your email box,
Yoink.
empties your bank account, empties your credit card funds. You're done. You have no money left, all because one of your kids put malware that's designed to beat detection on the box so they could hit somebody through a wall. And if you were in there and they had the credit card, it's game over. So
Imagine losing hundreds of thousands of dollars because your kid sucks at Call of Duty.
That's a way to.
that would be hurt.
Hey,
Hey.
Only spend more time with your kid to train them how to play games better. Jeez.
Right. So like in my house, and just me being the
Buy 'em an egg
paranoid
trainer,
guy,
Jesus.
my kids will not ever play on my wife's PC or my PC. They'll have their own. It'll be boxed. And if I choose to let them play a in-game transaction game, it'll be with a pay-as-you-go card. No linked accounts, nothing. I don't even do that today. My own box right here, if I'm in gaming or anything, I use a prepaid credit card for anything. I don't
I
leave.
do that with everything. Anything online shopping.
I just can't do it. It just won't happen. Yeah. So if you guys got questions, let's hear them. You guys on the podcast. I mean, I went full on cyber geek right there.
Yeah, geek. One question that comes top of mind, right? Like, since I've been on the podcast, I've been more in tune with cybersecurity, and especially like gaming and cheating and learning about the environment out here. But are you noticing more of a discourse, a conversation about this now in this era than you've seen in the past?
Yeah. So, yes. One of the things I struggle
definitely has an effect on that too.
So one of the things I struggle with on Twitter, because my handle before I started streaming and everything is JMD Geek. Most of my followers, most of the interactions and everything I had were all cybersecurity related. And I was worried if I started adding games and gamers and stuff to that stream that I would see maybe some backlash from some of my cybersecurity buddies. But actually, there's a lot of people in there that enjoy gaming as well. Go figure. We're a bunch of geeks. But we've also noticed things for like VR hacking and some other stuff. So the conversation is starting to come more forefront, especially as you see more and more, a couple more and more APT groups that are realizing that there's money to be made off of it, because teenagers are easy targets. They want to go get a quick and easy cheat fix. And if it's bundled or wrapped in some sort of malware that goes with it, they don't know. They just want to be able to win the game. So as long as they can win the game, which they're able to do because most of these guys want to be subtle and undetected, it's there.
My main question or concern, though, is forever going to be with this situation is how is this going to affect the people like us that don't cheat?
We don't know. We don't know. Right now, the more and more stuff that's on there. So those people that are everyday, honest to goodness G.I. Joes that play in like Warzone for free now have to do multi-factor because there's the cheaters out there. There's no other way to put it. All this stuff for all of us everyday users that want to be able to go into trials in Bungie's Destiny 2 or do PvP and enjoy our day, but can't
Without
because
getting fevered or
right.
cross-mapped from a wall hack snipe or
So ultimately, we're already feeling that at some stage the cheaters are destroying the
will to
quality of the
play.
game and the fun, to an extent. And there's a lot of people who are, I don't see a lot of cheaters. Well, you
just
might be
don't
turning a
notice.
blind eye to it. So like I did a video on some of the best practices that like I would recommend. I do not log into my box as an admin. I have 2 accounts. I have my regular user account. I have an admin account. If I need to run something like OBS whenever I go to launch it, I launch that as run as admin. And then I put my credentials in. I never store the credentials. I never save them anywhere. Every time I close my browser, it clears the history, it clears the cache. Oh my gosh. Oh no, it's such a pain in the butt. I have to re-add my passwords in every single time I go back to another site. I'll deal with it. I'd much rather be safe than sorry. I also have key fob. Oh, it's in the box. I can't get it. That in order for me to access my computer, I have to have my username and password, and I have to have a proximity key fob that lets me get onto my box. And it actually has to be there to be able to run as an administrator. That's not something everyday users are going to use, but like Google and YouTube offer that. You put a little thing on your keychain, and they give you a hardware token that you can plug in a USB port as a backup in case the battery dies in the wireless device or you lose it. But it's proximity to your computer, so you can get a even more secure authentication level. There's a lot of solutions out there. They're just touching the tip of the iceberg. So over the next year or two, you're going to see a lot of changes on how people authenticate. But there's just to answer his question. Sorry for going too deep on that one. 2-factor is a start, and it will help dramatically secure you from having your accounts taken over. Does a VPN help with that? No. So if I'm on a VPN and I tell my box to make it look like I am in, say, Japan or in the Philippines or even somewhere else in the United States, I'm still online. My box is still going to be a presentable target. If I'm acting to go get the cheat software, then it doesn't really matter. The VPN, what that does is that helps protect your anonymity. If I'm on a public Wi-Fi at Starbucks and I have my phone, which has a VPN application on it, it's always on. If I'm, then anything I do, if I authenticate to a bank, then I'm no longer in clear text or I'm no longer presenting packets on that Wi-Fi that are readily readable to anybody in that store and able to issue a man in the middle of war drive attack. So I'm more secure that way. But it's this aspect that we're talking about with the cheats and the malware and the download. That's a whole different type of security. VPNs for your privacy, keeping your data encrypted while in transit and in use. This one is stuff people are downloading and using to infect. So two different realms of security there.